Today on Uncommonly Good MTG, it's top 5 favorite decks day for March of 2023. Will your favorite make today's list? Stay tuned to find out. Hello and welcome to Uncommonly Good MTG. I am your host, somebody that is completely stoked by it being favorite decks day, Dr. Yukon Socket. Yes, thank you. Film before live studio audience. Thank you so much. Yukon Socket. Word to your mama. So I'm broadcasting to you today from, say it with me, secret underground headquarters. I heard you say it. And today is top 5 favorite decks day for this time. It's March 2023. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with favorite decks day, what it is, I take a look back at all of the decks that I've shown through the previous month, and I try to pick out my top 5 favorite decks. So before we get through them, let's go ahead and do a couple of things. All right, so here are the stats for March of 2023. We played 78 different decks, 616 games over a 31-day period, which meant that I played roughly 2.5 decks per day on average. And I played roughly 20 games per day, which totaled about 8-ish games per deck. And sometimes it was a lot more than that in a day, and sometimes it was a lot less. But on average, that's what I was playing. 2.5 decks per day. That weird half deck, only playing a 30-card deck. People don't like it because you just rack it up with nothing but fireballs. Anyways, so from there, let's talk about what makes a favorite deck. In a favorite deck, there are really 4 things that we're looking for. Number 1, the deck has to have a decent chance of winning. I'm not looking for the deck with the best win rate. I'm looking for a deck that is fun to play. And, fun to play has to have a decent win rate, something above 50%, especially when it's mixed with the number 2 point, that it puts up a good fight. I'm looking for a deck I'm having fun with while I'm playing, and that it has to have that decent chance of winning. If I'm losing close to 50% of the time, but I'm having a great time playing it, that could easily be my most favorite deck. Could easily be. Because I don't really care about winning as much as just having a great time while I'm playing. But if I'm going to lose the vast majority of the time, then yeah, that's probably not going to work out terribly well for me. Let's see. Number 3 is card synergy needs to be interesting. So another way of saying this is it can't be a boring deck. I need the cards themselves to do interesting things, or for the synergy between the cards to be interesting. Like one card to me that I find really interesting is like Toxrill. The Black King himself, Toxrill. I love the fact that he comes out and he just can sit there as a big fat slug, yet every turn it does an additional point of slime damage to everybody around. And they all just start dying, and then all these little baby slugs start appearing. God, I love that. Toxrill is interesting incarnate to me. Toxrill will not make this list this week because he didn't get much of play in March, unfortunately. But yeah, that would be something I'm looking for. Interesting cards or interesting synergy between cards. And lastly, bonus points for big finish. I am always looking for a deck. If the deck does very well and the interest between the cards is fine, that could be a favorite deck. But I'm looking for a deck where, you're putting down, something that gives all your dudes, +5 in trample or something like that. I just love that. That's what's so great about green is you got effects like that occurring. What else? You can get out like a Shivan Devastator with it's like 12/12 or something. Love that. Just Hasty comes in and just goes to town on people. dragons are great as far as being big finish cards that really help you out. So yeah, anyway, so those are the 4 things that make a deck favorite for this list. Now, lastly, before we get started on showing the top 5, I want to provide a list of the honorable mentions. For whatever reason, I felt these decks were fantastic. Yet, this is the top 5. So we're going to show you snips of the top 5. We're going to talk about the top 5. But I still have to mention these 3 decks. Which decks were they? Number 1, Rats Ninjutsu. That was a great deck. It just wasn't as great as the others. What was great about Rats Ninjutsu was that, Rats Tribal and Ninjas. And they all kind of helped each other out. There's a lot of synergy. You had a lot of bouncing things in and out. Really good. Red Pain. Oh, man, I loved Red Pain. Now, the only problem with Red Pain is that it is so much like Red Deck Wins. It's barely different. So I thought, it's getting a little bit on the boring side. But it was taking, your standard red burn deck, your red deck wins deck, and you slightly different cards, which made it intensely interesting and won quite a bit. So it was even spanking, your red burn decks. It was really, really good. But the other decks were better, more fun decks. I can tell you, I'd play Red Pain a lot, though. I just had a hard time taking it off of the top 5 list. The last honorable mention goes to what I called Red-White Token Might. Loved it. It did such a great job of putting out a bunch of little swarmy dudes and just going for that whole swarming Boros thing. It had a great win rate to it. It was really, really good. Once again, it was too much like other decks, though, which I did get in the top 5 list. And so we'll see those there. Okay, we'll talk about those other decks later. So unfortunately, it had to hit the honorable mention list. So there's your honorable mention, Rats Ninjutsu, Red Pain, and Red-White Token Might. Let's get to the top 5 list. All right, no tax. I just need to keep Chumpy McChumberson back. All right, here's my big move. Come on, don't kill it. There we go. Oh, that's actually pretty sweet. I got to do this. 3 threes. Yeah! Of course, I can't block at all. Now he's going to start to panic a little bit. He's oh, crap. Look at that. We got like 11 points of damage coming at him. He's going to run out of those pretty soon. He's got to. I'll just ossify the virus beetle here on the next turn. It'll be great. And I can play the Redeemer. Nice and strong. There we go. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can just attack these two. All done. Suck it, suckerfish. Victory! Alright, so here we are with the Angel Might Tribal deck. Yeah, I really wanted this to be Angel Tribal, but the Mights just worked so well with it. That's what you get when we start playing with the Phyrexians. Phyrexia just gets its way into everything. This deck really comes down to Sarah Redeemer. I mean, Sarah Redeemer, I found out about her, I don't know, a little while ago. You might have heard me talking about her. This is the first deck where I think she really worked well. It's 5, I think, pairing there with the Giada to help get in route early. And then while you have route, being able to slam everything else out, making them 2 points bigger, really helps out a lot. We're really pinning a lot on Sarah Redeemer. But on the other hand, these other flying angels are badasses unto themselves. I feel like this deck has other places it can go, and is going to be a good framework for other decks. So, who knows? Maybe we'll see it in the top 5 favorites for April of 2023. Yeah. So let's talk about the mites a little bit. Yeah, that was one thing I was surprised by. Because it's a good idea in a lot of angel decks to put in like devastation, some sort of board wipe. But in this case, we're able to swap it out for White Sun's Twilight, which is an extraordinarily expensive board wipe, meaning you have to paying at least 7 mana to get that to happen. But before that point, you can drop out mites at any particular point. You got mites coming from White Sun's Twilight, from Charge of the Mites, and the Basilica Shepherd. Not to mention that all of these other angels, such as Inspiring Overseer, all these guys will be affected by Sarah Redeemer, making them even stronger when they come into place. So I think this is a very interesting deck. Plus, it gets to be essentially a double tribal deck between mites and angels, which makes it really interesting. I'm really looking forward to this deck going forward. All right, let's start off with this. So we get some damage done. We got to get damage along the way. We're a little bit too messed up with it. Yeah, see, seeing 2 or less, that's bad. Let's get rid of that. He's going to try to mill me. Give it up, yo. Hey there, Cubert. Here's some Energon cubes for you. All right, so we're just looking at it. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in, get rid of 2 more. Gotta make those hard decisions, huh? I'll attack. Let's see, we got 3. Let's go ahead and put out a Virus Beetle. Raptor's Hand. And another curtain. I don't know what you're looking at there. I'll attack. Yeah, if I want to corner the market, I'm going to need a Shouldered in this deck. Now, if they try to draw cards, they'll just get slammed. All right, okay, there we go. Touchdown, Lava Bears. All right, so here we are with the Mono Black discard. I know a lot of you hate discard. Hate it. Yeah, it's just one of my old favorites. I like going back to it. I think the big deal is that when I first got into MTGA, and the first deck I ever put together that I thought did very well was a discard deck. And I felt so horrible playing it against people to start off with. But you get used to it after a while, and you get other people start to discard, use discard against you. It's totally okay. And so when I need to go back and feel good about myself and make my own decks, a lot of times I'll hit up mono black discard. This particular version of the deck, I thought did very well. That's why I think it is an interesting deck. Is just because it's not just aggro or creature kill control. It's doing something different. Like the one thing I kind of really wish we had going on now was mill. But every mill deck I've ever seen in today's meta just kind of blows. It doesn't have a decent win rate. It can't really make it. You can make it win every once in a while, but it's like a 10% thing. But discard has a decent chance of winning in the right balance, and I think this one has it. We got what? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of the benefits of this particular deck, I was trying to say desk, is the fact that I think we're leveraging getting rid of 2 cards per turn. We're doing that in aggressive sabotage. I thought something else did it too. And maybe it's just aggressive sabotage. I think that's great. I think it's also nice that we have a board wipe against, potentially. That's why the Celestis is in here, is because this is mono black across the board, but Path of Peril is in here to provide that extra white mana if necessary. And I think there's somebody else. Oh yeah, and there it is. Aggressive sabotage wanted that kicker for an additional red. So the Celestia's in there to provide kicker essentially when necessary. But it was good. It was a well-balanced deck. The high-end threats were good. Oh yeah, that guy was a discard as well. That was the other. They have to discard 2 cards and lose 2 life. That's what it was. So yeah, it does a good job of pinning down their hand, having control over the creatures, and then coming in with high-end creatures with a little bit of lifelink, I believe, mixed in there as well. I know this one provides lifelink, usually gets killed pretty easily. Invoke Despair provides you with some life, and that might be about it. Oh, Celestis provides you a little bit of life as well. Yep. So there's a good balance in here. Discard is a strong part of it. It was a very interesting deck that does something other than just toxic or, destroys them with damage, that kind of thing. It was very fun. I would highly recommend it. All right, I'm down to 9. I'm going to go for a nice Thunder Raju. I'll attack. Pop it right there. I'm down to 5. I think, what's he going to be able to do this here? +3. So that's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, potentially. Yeah, I'm dead. Ooh, he's playing it the wrong way. Yeah, we'll put on that guy. That sounds like a fun time. All right, he's got that 4 again. Let's go for a Raju. And we win. Suck it. Suck it, Lotus Wake, you sucker fish. Suck it. So right off of the Platinum Mythic list is Gruul Haste. And why did this guy make my list? It's because, he's really just the red deck wins, the red deck burns deck, the red burn deck. It's just that same philosophy, except for with stronger, better, growier creatures. So we got haste still. We got dudes that get even bigger as they go. Beast Collar flopping those counters around as it gets killed, but still holding steady with like the Kami's Flare and Lightning Strike. lots of haste going on. So yeah, this guy is he's really good on what you could do, provided you have the mana with him, for just floundering in and causing lots of damage. So I really liked playing this deck. This is the kind of thing I would play again and again and again. It's a slightly more interesting than your mono red aggro decks, but it's a Gruul aggro, and it just feels so much better having that additional muscle to it. So it can be a little bit slower, but I got to believe that that extra muscle is going to work out well in the long run and at least make the deck a little bit more interesting to play just because it's not mono red aggro again. But yeah, this is a top shelf deck. It really works well if you're a Gruul or a mono red aggro player. Let's use our abilities. 1 and 2. Shoot that guy in the head. Three goblins. We're flush out. No tax. I don't know. Did I just win? Let's just go to town. I don't know. No math! No math! He wants to kill one of them. You should really go after this guy right there. This guy. There we go. No math! No math! All right, goblins, come on, baby. You can do it. These guys survive. Yes! Victory! All right, so here we are with Goblin Red. Oh, you know, I think for some reason the first deck I really loved was a mono red Goblin deck, and so anytime we can put together a decent one, I am just enthralled by it. And this one I think is incredibly good. You know, so we have a couple cards in here that are not goblins, such as Kumano and Voldrin Epicure there. I'm disappointed that they're not goblins, but it just means that's someplace. And then I guess the Horned Stone Seeker. He looks like he could potentially be a goblin, depending upon which plane you come from. But of course, he's just a lizard. So I think those are places we could potentially swap them out for something else in the future. But what is it about them that makes these guys really work out? This guy, he doesn't really need to be in here because he doesn't do anything other than just pump dudes up and put out a 2/2 hasty guy, right? So that's not necessary. But yeah, the Horned Stone Seeker puts out an artifact. Voldrin Epicure puts out an artifact, and that's what you need. Even Yodia Declares War puts out artifacts. Because a strong part of this deck is converting your artifacts into other things. I guess because of Gleeful Demolition. So anyways, yeah. But these guys were fast. These guys are vicious. And this has such a high win rate. I was almost scared to play this deck because I thought that if it lost too many times in a row, I would lose my respect and love for it. But that never happened. I played it a bunch. I'm definitely going to come back and play this as much as I possibly can because Goblin Red is super tops. There's 4. Let's do a little wedding announcement. What was that, 4, 5, 6? I'll be down to 6, depending upon what he puts out next. There we go, a little Mishra. Turns into Super Mishra. Vanquish the Horde. You want something else? There you go, blocker. Jump! Down to 7. All right, so Hive doesn't really help us out at first. Let's just put this out. Put the pump onto that guy. And we'll go do this since we got nothing better to do. This is it. No math! No math! Boom, boom! Goes the room. Victory! There we go. Once again, number 1 goes to Boros Nuke. This time it's number 5. You know, I don't know what's going to knock down my love of Boros Nuke. It's always my favorite deck. Somehow I skipped it last in, what was it, the February one. I just set it aside and just didn't get around. Maybe we had enough good things going on with the release of Obi-Wan. But yeah, we got back to Boros Nuke in March, and here it is on the number 1 list again. I just love playing it. This time, I was able to get Urbrask's Forge and Skrelv's Hive in there. What's nice is that both of those dump out dudes at the beginning of the turn, which will then affect Devilish Valet. And it telegraphs it. People can see it coming, so therefore they have more time to actually do something about the Devilish Valet getting scary. Because that's the thing about Wedding Announcement, is that it doesn't really work well in a Boros Nuke deck because it puts it out at the beginning of your end step, well after when Devilish Valet can actually use it. So the only time that the guys from Wedding Announcement actually help out is when you have Rabble Rousing out, at which point then it's just another dude attacking, and which point then it causes another dude to appear as part of the attacking phase. The only thing that's bad about this deck is that there's starting to be so many good cards that we're starting to thin out like some of the key cards to this deck. You know, Rabble Rousing should almost always be 4 cards, and yet there's only 2. You know, Devilish Valet is in here at 4. This is 4. This is 4. Mostly because they're cheap, and because they're so cheap, that means we can get more of them out early and awesome. But this thing heads up like all of the great cards. Skitter Beam, Burn Down the House, Rabble Rousing, Urbrask's Forge, Devilish Valet. I mean, everything in here is so good. I put in Brilliant Restoration because I thought, oh, that'd be fantastic just to drop tons of things back into play all at one turn. I don't think it's necessary. We never played it. It never came out, and the deck did great otherwise. So we could always look into other cards. I mean, for V6, that's going to be awesome and good. So yeah, once again, Boros Nuke, it's just so incredibly awesome. I love it. This thing it deserves to be where it's at on the top of the list. All right, so that was my favorite top 5 decks from March of 2023. I hope that you take my advice and play those decks because they are well worth it. If you have any favorite decks that you liked, try to add them to the comments below. I'm sure that I myself personally would love to hear about them, and probably other people would too. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. From all of us here in the underground secret headquarters of Uncommonly Good MTG, have a great day. In the words of my people, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.